Hello everyone. So I really like looking at space and I have no experience with telescopes, so I bought this thing. You can see what it's kind of advertising: deep sky, solar, lunar, scenery. And it says don't ever look at the sun unless you have the proper filter, which it comes in one, thankfully. Gonna have the type C, gonna have the telescope, tripod, case, quick guide, and the solar filter. So the case feels pretty sturdy. It kind of reminds me of styrofoam, but it's obviously something much more sturdier. And so it's cool. Has the handle, and then it also locks. So right away you're gonna see the scope and the tripod. And yeah, I mean, it's a solid tripod. It's gonna hold your scope. Feels very sturdy, well made. Not like some cheap little plastic tripod or nothing. It does extend at least a little bit. Has a little level right here. Just a little booklet. If I need it, I'll just look at it later. The cable is gonna be a Type A to Type C. Silica packet for the moisture when you're like sealing these things or whatever. And then another booklet, quick guide this time. And then this is the solar filter. So not a telescope. I do like how well the box holds everything in place. So we're gonna see the power button on the back with some lights under it to indicate like how much battery it has, a Type C so we could charge it, and then a little hole on the bottom so we can mount it. So just plugging it in, gotta make sure it's charged up before I go take it out. Pulling out the manual real quick because I wasn't too sure how to turn it on. Tapping it didn't do nothing, but you just hold it for a second. And then it'll turn on and start beeping and stuff. Eventually it will tell you like it's powering on or whatever.
Powering on, ready to connect.
So to use this thing, you are gonna need a smartphone or a tablet, so you can download the Seestar app and then just control it through that. Doesn't look like there's any PC support for this thing, which would be nice, but currently I don't think there is. So just accepting like GPS and giving it my location and stuff, and then just kind of going through everything, giving it all these permissions. So it wants me to reset the telescope, and so it's this button. It's kind of out of focus, but it's under the power button. So now that it says connected, we have to connect it again, I guess, to the Wi-Fi. And so I just tap on the LAN settings, and it's gonna show like all my Wi-Fi's, but it also shows the scope, the S50, and then just put in a password, 1234567 8, and then connect it. And then it just says no internet access, which is fine. I just go back to the Seestar app now. Well, actually, I just go back because yeah, that is the phone app or whatever. And so now I'm just gonna have to do a couple updates, which I'll skip. And so it disconnected when it did the update, but I'll just able to reconnect it. And so it says open arm at the top. And so when you press that, it opens up the telescope. It's always facing downwards, and it just, goes to an upright position. But I like that it's facing downwards. It feels like it's kind of more protected. And so now I can remove this little safety tape on it. And real quick, I'm curious about the solar filter since I wasn't able to access the whole lens in the beginning. And yeah, it just looks like it just pops right in. So this is, I guess, just if you want to look at the sun. But yeah, mostly you just want to look at stars, nebulae, the moon especially. But there is an eclipse coming up, so I'm gonna try and get some pictures of that, hopefully. And so I'll put on the mount now. So find somewhere to put it. I personally chose my roof, just an edge, just climb a ladder and put it right there because I have so many trees around. And so if I tap on Stargazing, it gives me like all these things that I can look at. It says current best, like kind of like recommendations, which is very cool. And it recommends them because, yeah, it shows the visibility. So it's pretty much like peak visibility to look at these right now. And so it's very cool just recommending new ones. Like the Andromeda one is like kind of past the peak already. Like if I wanted to peak, I should have looked at it at like 1 in the morning. I really want to look at the moon, but it's just been pretty much non-existent all week. But yeah, it's super cool that the app like tells you like, hey, this thing's visible for a few more hours, and then it has filter recommendations. So I thought this was the solar filter, but no, the scope does have like some built-in filters. So I think as long as you're looking around at night, you shouldn't find anything too bright that'll damage your scope. I am gonna try out the solar filter on the eclipse. I believe there's an eclipse. According to this app, there's an eclipse on like the beginning of October, like the 3rd or something. So there's all those cool recommendations, and then there's the Sky Atlas, which kind of just lets you look like free roam across the stars with your scope and just look for something interesting, and then you can just tap it and just aim your scope at it. And I don't know, it just seems like a cool way to help teach you constellations and whatnot. I mean, I already am learning a ton of new things to look at just by using this app. So eventually I settled on one of the recommended ones that I had like good visibility of right now. And I did take a picture of it, but I felt like it automatically adjusted to it to where it was like too far to the left. So I wanted to go a little to the right. So I got out and went to the Sky Atlas, whatever. You can see it. It kind of just left the scope there. So I was able to easily just move it a little to the right, adjust it slightly, and then just start taking pictures again. And yeah, it was capturing more of what I wanted to see. So that's pretty much the whole thing. Yeah, you're just gonna place the scope, go on your phone, open the app, pick something you really want to see, something with good visibility, and then leave it there for several minutes, an hour if you want, I don't know, and just wait. And again, I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, you can see the filters on for this one. So hopefully the scope just kind of knows what to do. As for the filter that it comes with, yeah, that's just for the sun, I guess. So right away you get a cool image, and I haven't even been staring at this thing very long. I guess this Orion Nebula obviously is not one of my favorites. It's super cool. I guess it's just always beautiful at all times. And so skipping ahead, we're now at about 5 minutes, and yeah, it's just getting like brighter and more color and stuff. And then 41 minutes, and yeah, you can mess with the contrast, the brightness, the saturation, do whatever you want. Or you could just, take the picture and then transfer it to your computer and edit it in Photoshop if you want, obviously. And so that's the image I got after over 40 minutes. So gonna go in my gallery, and yeah, I did take a few pictures. Like I said, I had to move the scope because I felt like it was aiming too far to the left, so I was cutting off like part of the nebula that I wanted to see. So I just moved it, and yeah, I liked it a lot better this time. So I like the images. I felt like it could have been maybe a little clearer, so I decided to autofocus it. And yeah, I felt like when I autofocused it, it did come out even better. I don't know if it does this automatically when you first like go to like a spot, because when you go to a spot, it just starts recording right away. So I had to cancel the recording. Like what I do now is I cancel the recording and then autofocus it and then start recording. And I was able to continue, but I decided to restart because I wanted to see like the differences with like when I autofocus it and when I don't autofocus it. So a quick 1 minute time lapse. I'll just speed it up a bit. And so these were the images eventually. Like I said, the one on the right, that one I didn't autofocus beforehand. I just tapped where I wanted to look at and then left it there for over half an hour. And then the one on the left, I think was like 5 minutes with the autofocus. And yeah, I felt like it looked cleaner, looked less blurry to me. I feel like the right one looks a bit blurry. So I definitely recommend autofocusing it. At least in my experience, that's what I felt like worked better. I really love this thing because, yeah, I didn't know where to start when it came to stargazing. I love looking at the moon, I love looking like whenever we get like the super moons and stuff, the meteor showers during August, like the Perseids or whatever. But that was as far as I could go without like any telescope or knowledge or whatever. And yeah, I don't know anyone in real life that like does this stuff. So as a complete amateur, this was pretty much perfect for me. And the app teaches me so many cool things and has so many good recommendations. So it's not really like a review or wasn't intended to be a review, but yeah, I'd give it like a 10. It's so cool. As an amateur who loves space, it makes me really happy.